Chinese vessels used water cannons and dangerous maneuvers against Bureau of Fisheries ships near Bajo de Masinloc on Thursday, July 23. It's the nature of the beast, prosecutors educate Senator Judge Robin Padilla after he criticized them for being one-sided. Vice President Sara Duterte asks the Senate to shoulder the food expenses of her defense lawyers in her impeachment trial. A senior Bangko Sentral official criticizes decades-old bank secrecy laws. And U.S. intelligence analysts suspect Russia of providing targeting information to Iran after precise drone attacks on CIA facilities in the Gulf. The Philippine Coast Guard says Chinese vessels used water cannons and, quote, dangerous maneuvers against Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources ships. This during a mission close to Bajo de Masinloc in the West Philippine Sea. The Philippines reports no injuries or damage from the incident. The PCG says a China Coast Guard vessel sailed close to the BFAR's ship BRP Datu Dumangsil while another used dangerous maneuvers on BRP Datu Paiburong. The CCG ship later used water cannons against the Datu Dumangsil, although it was not hit. But the PCG says the missions pushed through and were able to provide fuel subsidies to fisherfolk in the area. Both PCG and BFAR vessels regularly patrol Philippine maritime spaces. This marks the latest tense encounter between Manila and Beijing in the maritime and political spaces. During a foreign minister meeting between the two countries, China's Wang Yi warned Manila of bitter consequences of its own making if it continues to provoke Beijing with the support of outside powers. Prosecutors of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial respond to Senator Judge Robin Padilla's call for the prosecution to not be one-sided.
Sana hindi one-sided ang ating persecution.
The remark drew an immediate reaction from the House prosecution panel, prompting Presiding Officer Cheese Escudero to tell the front row to maintain order in the court. Lead prosecutor Jinky Luistro notes, quote, the impeachment trial is adversarial.
Siguro mas nakakapagtaka pag naging neutral ang prosecution. At lalong nakakapagtaka kung i-defend namin yung respondent.
Luistro asserts that the prosecution's role is to remain quote-unquote biased in presenting the case, while the defense is there to, quote, defend the innocence of the respondent. For her part, Private Prosecutor Lorna Kapunan says the bias of the prosecution and defense is, quote, the nature of the beast in the impeachment court. Meantime, Padilla attempts to do damage control for his one-sided remark. He says in a post in Filipino, justice is neutral and the responsibility of the prosecution is not to win, but to bring out the truth and protect the innocent. The defense's duty is to ensure the respect of the human rights of the accused. Vice President Sara Duterte writes to the Senate asking it to shoulder the food expenses of her defense lawyers in her impeachment trial. In her letter, Duterte has three requests. First, for food and beverage for the defense team to be served in their designated holding room at the Senate. Next, the food and beverage shall be sourced and prepared by the Office of the Vice President's accredited caterer due to security concerns. And last, the Senate should shoulder the costs of food, beverage, and catering services for the defense team, support staff, and witnesses. But Senate President Win Gatchalian rejects her request, saying we cannot afford it. He says the Senate's expenses are also expected to increase because it has to rent space at the Philippine International Convention Center for the upcoming budget deliberations and committee hearings. On the other hand, the House, whose members serve as prosecutors in the trial, pays for the operating expenses of the prosecution panel. A senior Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas official criticizes the country's decades-old bank secrecy laws. This after the House prosecution failed to examine Vice President Sara Duterte's foreign currency deposits, cutting off attempts to follow her money trail. Foreign currency deposits remain beyond reach even in impeachment cases. BSP Deputy Governor Elmer Capules says bank secrecy laws have frustrated investigators for decades as foreign currency deposit accounts cannot be opened by courts. He says Wednesday, July 22, we are talking of bank secrecy being used to hide illegal activities. He adds, bank secrecy, quote-unquote, mutated into state policy under the Anti-Money Laundering Act. Capules notes the Philippines' outdated bank secrecy laws can stop authorities from getting a complete financial picture. Iranian drone attacks on CIA facilities in the Gulf prompt U.S. intelligence analysts to investigate whether Moscow provided targeting information to Tehran. In an exclusive Reuters report, 4 people familiar with U.S. intelligence cite the strike's precision, as well as Russia's broader technical support for Iran as possible evidence. An internal memo from a Western intelligence agency also concludes Russia likely played a role in targeting regional CIA facilities. Russia's assistance for Iran is long-standing, but specific targeting of sensitive CIA sites, if true, could mean Moscow is willing to go further in disrupting US operations. US intelligence officials have not yet reached a firm conclusion about the possibility of Russian involvement. The CIA declined to comment. Iran's mission to the UN, the Russian Defense Ministry, and the Saudi government did not respond to Reuters' requests for comment. And that's today's wrap. I'm JC Gotinga. Thank you for watching. Click the link below for the full story. For more updates, download the wRap.